of these human rights are the full realization and responsibility of the states, either the national states by themselves or through international assistance and cooperation with the help or support of regional international organizations. It means that this is a shared responsibility and international responsibility. And I insist on this with nowadays and with all the conflicts that are going on, where we see that water is at the center and the affected population do not have access to drinking water or also water for their hygiene. When I think of 1 million displaced people in Lebanon these last days, I leave you to imagine how they are living without any access to water, either for drinking purposes or for sanitation. And to continue on this, let's say, international policies, we also have, we should also remind ourselves of Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, which have let's say, in the presentations of all the goals within this UN resolutions, it says that these goals seek to realize the human rights of all and to achieve gender and the empowerment of all women and girls. So again, here we have the human rights at the core of the SDGs and achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. And we have a specific goal for achieving gender equality, which is goal 5, which is closely related to goal 6 about the access to water and sanitation for all, because we understand without a proper access to water and sanitation, how are women going to have, let's say, a decent life, to become equal? How are girls are going to be able to go to school? And there are, of course, other interrelated goals, but I don't want to take too much time for entering into many details. It has been reminded at the beginning with the representative of UNESCO, all the efforts that women are doing for the achievements for collecting water and the time they spent on collecting water, which is over 3 times more than for men and boys. And at the same time, women represent just 1/5 of the water sector workforce and remain underrepresented in decision-making roles. And therefore, they are also more affected about the lack of access to water. I just mentioned the access to school. In some countries from the global south, there are no sanitation facilities at school, so girls do not go to school. It's as simple as this. And there are, of course, many more obstacles. In our current times, water resources face a lot of pressures, either through unsustainable use, pollution, the competing demands, and not to forget the effects of climate change. The first indicator of climate change is water, though it is neglected in the COPs related to climate change. So all this is affecting the access to water. And in addition, as was mentioned, and as I said, and as was already mentioned, water is under attack in ongoing armed conflicts in these regions of the world, going from Ukraine, Sudan, Gaza, Lebanon, even the Gulf states with the current attacks on desalination facilities. These attacks are clear violations of international humanitarian law and the human rights. Both are linked, and they carry heavy consequences for the civilians and the environment, with heavier consequences for women and girls, because women, even when they are living now under tents, like you can see in Gaza or in the current situation in Lebanon, are still the ones managing the little water they can collect, or the water tanks, like you can see in the picture, for their household, and managing the small amount of water, clean water. I don't know how much clean it is, but let's say it's a small amount of fresh water they are collecting. They have to divide it with all the needs of their household. So they bear a burden higher than men on these, and in this very difficult times. So, as also was said in the introduction, actually women already play a role in water management, even if it's not recognized. They They play this role at the level of the household. They play this level at the level of the community. But this needs to be translated and recognized at higher level. There is a need to empower women to access decision-making positions through education by changing the mindset in societies and strong policies. I like here to give the example of the gender policy that was applied in Morocco in order to have women in decision-making positions, not only at the ministry in charge of water, but I will give you the example of this ministry. So there was a strong policy to empower women, and it was accompanied by capacity building and training sessions, which also included men, because then men have to accept that their director may be a woman. And so the change has to come from the society itself, and sometimes strong policies are needed to push this forward. The other way forward is to strongly go for the application of the human rights to water and sanitation. As I said, it's a global responsibility of all the states. Progresses have to continue in SDGs 5 and 6, and thinking has to start of what we will do after, because 2030 is at the it will be here very soon. So what will happen? We know we are not on track for the SDG 6 and SDG 5 probably, and we have to ensure and call for the application of international humanitarian law for all these ongoing conflicts. Just to conclude, I would like to give example of two initiatives. One related to water in armed conflict, which is the Global Alliance for Sparing Water from Armed Conflict. It's a joint initiative by Slovenia, Switzerland, and the Geneva Water Hub, with the aim to ensure greater compliance with international law protecting fresh water and water-related installations in armed conflict, and to increase pre-conflict preparedness and resilience of water infrastructure and essential services through strengthening collaboration among humanitarian, development, and peace-building actors. The second initiative, which I also want to stress, is the initiative on Women in Water Diplomacy Network. This network was first created for in the frame of the Nile Basin Initiative, and then it has grown and it has extended to many regions of the world, with the objective to promote women and youth through capacity building, peer learning, and experience exchange, to support research cooperation and advocacy at basin, regional, and global levels, and to build trust and mutual understanding to achieve sustainable water management and regional stability. Thank you. I don't want to take more time. Thank you for the invitation and for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you.
Wow, Raya. Again, super insightful. Nice. Thank you for this precise presentation on this topic with insightful information. Are there questions from the audience right now? Then please raise your hand. Meanwhile, I have one actually, which is about Ukraine. Do you have a specific example here? How they use, like how water is used in this war?
The main example I have about Ukraine is the destruction of the dam. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the dam, but it has flooded a lot of land, and it is a problem for later on how to recover and how to let's say how to recover the lands, and which was intended for irrigation too. Then I must say that I am more focused on the Middle East than Ukraine.
Where's also more than enough going on. I was just curious about that. Very interesting.
But the destruction, yes, the destruction of the dam actually is an unlawful action, because these infrastructure have to be preserved according to international humanitarian law.
We also invited Artin. He's the vice president of Ukrainian Water Association, and I have informal discussion with him that they are in the war time still working with water management and treatment to provide water and water purification machines. So this is all. And thank you very much. Like we always believe that the water infrastructure must be safeguard, must be prevented, and because the human need water, and we always have a water, peace, and humanitarian access. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
So, Isabel, this is the time, the water and gender, and we have also very good presenters. And Professor Thelmo is here, and Eros, and I can see many more people. I have very good and very brief presentations and pitch for our audience, and who are also watching on the YouTube and live streaming. So, about what they think and how it must go. So I request here, Thelmo, please say words about the water and gender and what you have to tell to our audience on this World Water Day.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm so happy this morning, the World Water Day, be here to enjoy and a special time. I would share my screen. Wait a minute, please. Whoa. Let's see if I can handle that.
Yes, no, we got that. Yes.
Well, can you guys already see it or not?
We can see.
Yeah? Okay. So, first of all, I would like to say thank you, Abdul, for the invitation, and Isabel also. And in my speech in this morning, in the World Water Day 2026, we don't have time. I'm going to talk a little bit about water, gender, peace, and social justice. So, to begin with, today reflect on the importance of water and the inequalities in the access and use, especially regarding gender issues. So, unequal access to water in many parts of the world, including Brazil, water is not equally accessible. Millions still need to fetch generation water daily. So, gender and responsibility. Women and girls are primarily responsible for collecting water, often sacrificing education, work, and personal care. So we still got these big issues all around the world, especially in Brazil, up in the north. I'm in Brazil and at the bottom of the map in the extreme south, but it's worse in the north, in the northwest. Anyway, so water crisis and gender crisis, lack of safe water and sanitation affects women's health, dignity, autonomy, and reinforce social vulnerability. So I'm working here in the university. I'm also research in the University of São Paulo. We still got studies and environment education also, any students women's and studying a lot on those things so we can after all that investigate that we can show the world and how the women can handle those things. It's better for a better way to get along with. So women as a key actors. So humans play crucial roles in water management, developing sustainable practices in communities and territories. So the underrepresentation, despite their role, women are underrepresented in decision making and public policy related to water governments. That's the big point in here. When I'm talking here, it's we need it. We needed that change this because we need to put a woman to making decision making public policy relate to other governments. We need to change and we need to start to see how can we get these two really going on and see how they can get along with that. So the other important thing is a call for social justice. World Water Day calls for universal access to water and sanitation as a human right and a condition for gender equality. Like the colleague said before me, that water is a human right. Since 2010, we already know that, but we still have people without access to water. So ensure water for our means ensure dignity, health, and equality. So in this day, the World Water Day 2026, my message is let's pray water. On this day of yours, we ask you simply, stay with us, even you are fearful, for you are vital importance to us, and only in your company shall we have eternal life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and very brief and very good words from Professor Thelma from Brazil, and really very nice to hear, and it's really glad to have such stars on World Water Day. And next we move. Isabel, have you joined or move to the next our presenter? And yeah, so very nice from you. And Thelma, what you think that the water and gender nexus, water and gender can from the university levels, like in our area, in our region, it can promote some women entrepreneurship in water field and can improve the domestic water management. Like in our region, it's a key responsibility of women.
So, thank you so much. I think we can go to the next speaker. Is it right, Abdul?
Yes, sure. So who is the next?
Yes, Professor Dr. Kinini Tain. It would be you. Are you with us? And I think someone is still sharing the screen, Telmo. Maybe you should stop the screen.
Yes. I would like to share the screen.
I was trying to figure out how I can do it. I did it already. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, Professor Kin, yeah.
Okay. Good evening from my location. Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me a great opportunity to present our work and our way of thinking on water for peace. So for me, I put my presentation title as Water for Peace, from egocentric to ecocentric cooperation. So this is how I think of, and I like to explain why do I think about it and how do we implement it in Myanmar. Because I believe in it with whole of my heart. After more than 45 years in the water sector, from very small engineer to the high-level halls of international diplomacy, I have come to the singular, undeniable conclusion: water is not merely a resource to be managed, but a living bridge to be built between peoples. We have missed that people's role all along in our water management. Today, I want to discuss my view on water for peace. It is not a technical challenge of infrastructure, but a moral challenge of human cooperation, where we must change ourselves first before improving the advanced technology or looking for the financial resources. Therefore, the 2024 motto of our World Water Day Water for Peace is be the change you want to see in the world. So I will begin from that attitude, and I also want to share our Water for Peace journey in Myanmar from 2000 to date. So it has been more than a quarter of a decade. What do we gain? We gain understanding, we gain network, and we gain people like you who are like-minded. Our journey started in 2000. We signed the UNESCO Manifesto 2000. Since then, we behave with that 6 principles. But mind you, it is track 2 level. And it is not track 1. It is track 2. In 2001, we produced the Water for Peace documentary. And in short, the script is ruling government at that time, plus the opposition leaders, plus the children. The narrative is we should think of our next generations as the owner of our water resources and the one who has a power or the one who oppose that ruling for the good of the people should talk and do something together. But documentary did not finish because the government said, if I do not shoot the government side first, they will not allow to complete the documentary. So my silent resistance, it never finished. But 8-minute documentary, we have done it and we show it in the peace building circle. Then in 2003, we joined the NABU, Network of Asian River Basin Organizations, try to contribute to understand what is the River Basin Organization and the concept, implementation, etc. In 2012, we have a think tank mobilization. 2013, the Water Advisory Group. 2014, we have water policy drafted, published. In 2015, water law drafted, not published. And 2013 to 2020, mass capacity building supported by then government. And 2021 to actually 26, sorry for the typo, 2026, we have track 2 capacity building. So May 2024 to June 2026, 26 numbers of seminar series organized by the Transformative Water Learning Partnership Consortium, made of 3 organizations. One is only 2 digits. The second is 3 digits in member, but the third one is very big, 70,000 engineers and architects in Myanmar. For the time's sake, I won't elaborate. Please go to this website and see all the activities and their strength. So my proposal, Water for Peace, from egocentric to ecocentric, is because water is life, both humans and nature. Water is life resource, financial, economic, health, wealth, culture, and trust. The last one is the most expensive one we can never earn, even during that 26 years of peace building. So water for peace will be achieved by the true answer of a very simple question. Who owns water? The answer is, we are custodians. We don't own water. Our next generations own water. We have to take care of it and deliver into their hand intact and clean. So sustainable water government requires a balance between technical modeling and social and ethical dimensions. So it comes to my expertise. I have my PhD in hydroinformatics. I learned it in Delft, the Netherlands. I am most grateful to IHE as well as the Dutch Society. Their societal norms I learned, and I became who really interested in that social and ethical dimensions. Without that society, I would have only piecewise knowledge. So thank you to them. Hydroinformatics research shows that integrating socio-technical knowledge and stakeholder perspectives improves decision support systems. The evidence and citing documents here. The next slide is the solution. I'm sorry, this is the 7th paradigm and spiritual transformation. So it is a shift towards, efficiency, performance, advantage of the advanced technology and their capability. No, it is a shift towards conscious cooperation. Then people talk each other. What does this mean in practice? It means moving from an ecosystem to an ecosystem. It means recognizing that the health of the river is more important than the sovereignty of the border. Water doesn't know the boundary, especially political boundary. When we implement fair water sharing and transparent data exchange, we create a logical chain. Fairness leads to transparency. Transparency builds trust. And that is what we all need. Trust is the only foundation upon which lasting peace can sit. We have this for 70 years, 70 years long. We have a turmoil because we have very big mistrust between the ethnic people. And Myanmar is the composite of many ethnics, including Burma, which is a little bit more population than the others. So our objective to do water for peace is building trust and promote peace through equitable access and inclusive decision-making to water resources. We promote inclusive vision statement. We have to do the script together. We cannot follow somebody else's script. So formulate a vision statement. There we are. In practical term, we did it from 2013. What happened is, it is written by, of course, water professionals. So the other different specialization, like lawyers, they say, no, you don't use this word. And the company owners, they say, no, you can't do that. It is not practical. And then the tax people say, no, you must pay the tax for polluting the river, etc., etc. More than 100,000 arguments. So we saw women as facilitators and communicators because they are by genetic very gentle. And they conduct extensive public consultations and engagement events. Trust me, when the women do the facilitating, it's much softer in the meeting than the men facilitate, and utilize the diverse communication channels to gather the input, synthesize feedback, and we did it. But don't ask me, then you achieve something. No, we achieve nothing. No, we always fall back like a stair and the snake game. Sometimes we climb the stairs, we get somewhere, and the snake comes, and then we are gone again. And that is it. Then we find, oh yeah, we missed the core area in peace building. It is the inner world. So in my work with hydroinformatics, we often focus on the outer world, the models, the flow rates, the rainfall, climate data, climate prediction, etc. But as my mentor, Mike Abbott, taught us, every water project also exists in an inner world, the world of human thoughts, fears, and collective greed. A little more after he taught us, I also added the pride and the willingness to overpower or coerce, something like that. So this is what we learned. The trust is the most important currency to do peace. And the slide number 7. That's why we need capacity building. So while we are doing the vision, we do not translate the vision into other languages merely by word translating. No, we try to explain what this word means and how it will impact the community. So these are the strategies. Please read it. And the only important thing I want to emphasize is co-create a culture of peace, the bullet point 3. Second from the bottom, tolerance. And that tolerance is very, very important. So Alia, I like the word, if you do wrong thing, I have zero tolerance. That was very tasty for me to say it. But after 2001, I do not talk about it because I know it is wrong. If you want to do the peace and co-create the culture of peace, your tolerance level should be 100%. And that's what I want to say. And then I use that 7th paradigm, which is explained here, because this was the copy of the image of the slides we submitted to UN 2023 Water Conference. So here in the left bottom, the water management paradigms I studied, researched, and I saw 5 of them done by Professor Hall. Later on in 2016, there is smart water management, and that is 6th paradigm. Therefore, the theme we want to propose is the 7th one with the 3 ply. Number 1 is we use the technology. Number 2 is systems science. We cannot consider the river only for the particular part, but from source to sea. And the 3rd is the leadership style. I chose the AEIOU leadership style. However, one can choose as it is. So this is the last one, the role of women. Inclusive vision statement is very important, the women facilitation. So also earlier speakers also said that we occupy half of the sky. So if the women are left behind, we will not be able to make the peace building process. So therefore, the role of women I see in peace building process, to be precise, Water for Peace activities, is to facilitate and communicate with love, far and wide. Thank you very, very much for your kind attention and mental energy. I know it's a heavy thing. Thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me opportunity.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Do we have questions, Abdul? Let's check in. Does someone has questions? Please come ahead. From my side, it's this one. How did you find out that cooperation is so important?
Yeah, because if we communicate each other with words and body language and facial expressions. So if our eyes are saying something and our mouth deliver the different word, nobody believes, and there is no cooperation. Therefore, if one wants to build the peace building, that one has to be changing inside out. And the language of the eyes and the language of the mouth has to be the same. And it has to be clear to the listener that he or she means it and will deliver. So all our mistrusts are like that, saying something and later on doing something else. And how do we win the trust? Therefore, cooperation is very important. But to get that cooperation, communication is the first stage. And the communication doesn't only mean the words, it's altogether, everything, and by heart. Even your skin shows.
This is just great. It resonates a lot with me. I think we started recording again. Just the last slide was maybe missing, which is too sad. But I guess we have the presentation to share it afterwards. It resonated very well with me. Barak knows as well. Collaboration is something I think is really a solution for us. We have to get away from competition. Nonetheless, I see what you mean. Sometimes you have to go back into yourself and see where you might not 100% go for those values, right? Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And if there are no other questions right now, please share in the chat if you have. And else, we can contact you on LinkedIn, right? You're pretty, well connected on LinkedIn, I have seen.
Yeah.
Abdul, you take over. You started also the recording again.
Yeah, next presenter, we have from Eros Ka from BioCleaner from site. Today is water and women, and he's very far from his office, and I share his presentation for him. And let me share my screen. And Eros, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, working for
thank you,
women
guys.
and water. Yeah.
I'm very honored to be invited. Thank you so much. Let's start now. So, what a sanitation for a we need sanitation. So Abdul, keep on going. We have only 10 minutes. And then sanitation is important, health, etc. And you need to recycle the water. Please go on. The question also is sometimes it's also very difficult to do sanitation. There's cost, mainly cost. So you need sanitation, and the difference between the first world and the third world is the missing infrastructure of sanitation. Everybody wants to put up an airport because an airport is easy to be profitable, and so without sanitation, though, you get disease, and women and their children are the primary people usually getting sick. Yeah. and they have lower productivity because they're sick. Yeah. So if the father is also sick, there is no income and so on and so forth. Um, yeah. So sanitation is important to prevent contamination of drinking water. So in essence, uh, you don't want a place with no sanitation. My main example is usually well, 10 years ago, if you drop by Delhi and the airport opens, you get hit with a wave of stink. That was 10 years ago. Now in Delhi, they have lots of sanitation, and you don't smell the stink. Yeah. Anyway, so going on, but the issue is always cost. My example is well, Delhi and the whole of India started putting sanitation up, and then they found out that it's really expensive. So much so that India's debt just went up. Anyway, so you without sanitation, you pollute a lot of lakes, rivers. This is what people are going through right now, and the source of water is getting less and less. So now we want we'll talk about what we expect as the solution for the future, right? So you want something that will be getting rid of all the stink, yeah, to make it women friendly, because there's a reason why only a small amount of women want to work in sanitation, because it's so stinky. You go in and you smell the thing, you know you don't want to join that one. Why should I work like that? No, no, no. It's very unhealthy, and you want to get rid of the odor. And then the cost of it's also very expensive. And why is it expensive? Sludge. 80% of the cost of sanitation is tied to sludge handling. So we have this unit here, which we made up for my 13-year-old daughter. At that time, my daughter's now 31, but 18, when she was 13, she and her group of friends wanted to do this thing about cleaning up the world. And we made something that's easy for children to use. If you're 13, 14, 15 years old, you can do this thing. Yeah. So you want to make it easier and cheaper. You can put it into a dirty river and it'll start cleaning up the river. Put to a lake, it'll start cleaning up the lake. Put into a sewer plant and you cut their cost by 90%. If you have contaminated water, let's say a lot of the world has their groundwater is contaminated with nitrates. So these nitrates, if you use biocleaner to clean it up, bam, it becomes very, very clean, tastes good, and the cost is minimal. The impact on the world, hopefully, it'll be a lot, but the question is how to get the message out. Yeah, so so Abdul, keep on going.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the conclusion
So-
slide. Yeah, you can see.
Yes. So if women want to help do this one, first complain to your politician to put in sanitation, and then they'll come out and look for a cost, and we'll do the presentation. And women can also propose this and make money with sanitation. Offer sanitation at a fraction of the cost and still make money with biocleaner. We have a program just for women. It's run by a woman named Angel, and so on and so forth. So you can recycle. Once you recycle your water without with 10% loss to evaporation, you will have 10 times more water available per capita in the city. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other things about agriculture too. But if you recycle your water with 20% lost to evaporation, you have 5 times as much water available in your water stock.
Thank you very
so on and
much.
so forth. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Anyone have the question? We can have. And one question I have that what do you think the world's future, the planet's future is in recycling of what today is, especially in the aspect of water and gender. That if women
Well,
can't.
I think, my opinion, I've been involved in the United Nations activities for over 30 years, and there's a lot of talk, but people need action. Women need action. And the most important part is democracy. So if women are allowed to vote, right, and they get their voices heard, then that's the first most important step.
Okay. Anyone have any question? Please go ahead and ask, and then Isabel, then over to you.
Yes, so first of all, thank you so much. I resonate well. That's why I traveled also so far because of election, because I have a vote here. And it's indeed very
Very good.
important to have that. It's not in all places around the world. I see that. We have it here. Luckily, I'm grateful for that. And still, we miss a lot of women in the parliaments. And I think this would make our life more sustainable, collaborative probably, and social and climate friendly. There are even studies for it. But now we move on with the next speaker, and this is Bakat. Bakat from Madagascar. We met at COP and pretty much shared water as something we both really liked, and also the peace. Bakat, are you here? I cannot hear you yet. Let's check again. Else, I think she
What?
maybe dropped out. No, she's there.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. First and foremost, I would like to sincerely thank Isabel and Abdul for the invitation to this very important webinar. And let me just share my screen just for illustration. Just a moment. Could you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
we can see.
But it's not presentation mode yet.
Yeah. Indeed, water as a vital source for human existence can be both a source of peace and a source of crisis when it is poorly managed or when adequate governance mechanisms are lacking in certain parts of the world. On this World Water Day, one thing is certain: equitable and nearby access to water is a powerful lever for advancing gender equality. In this brief presentation, I would like to share with you the realities in Madagascar, how water can be a source of peace, the current state of access to safe drinking water, and what actions we are taking at our level to address social insecurity and promote sustainable water management. Okay, I have an issue with my screen, I think. Okay.
So we can.
Okay. To begin with, it's important to note that in Malagasy history, traditions and customs, water has always been a central pillar. During major celebrations and joyful moments, water plays a significant role in Malagasy culture. One notable example is the practice of Tujanu, which involves using water mixed with herbs to give blessings from ancestors or elders to younger generations, wishing them success in their endeavors. This ritual is commonly performed during traditional weddings and New Year celebrations. In the southern part of Madagascar, water also symbolizes hospitality and peace. When a stranger arrives in a community, offering water is a sign of welcome. In return, the visitor is expected to accept and drink the water, thereby establishing peace and mutual respect between both parties. However, when we look at access to safe drinking water and gender equality in Madagascar today, significant inequalities remain. particularly in rural areas. Many young girls and women still struggle to access clean water, and climate change continues to worsen this situation. Currently, more than 13 out of 24 regions of Madagascar are affected by desertification and water scarcity. These challenges have direct impacts on education and employment opportunities, especially for women and children. A survey conducted in 2025 as part of the global advocacy campaign with WaterAid highlighted that access to nearby safe water for girls and women in Madagascar can reduce their social challenges by half. This includes improvements in hygiene, menstrual health, and household organization. In response to these challenges, various international and national organizations, alongside the government, are taking action to address water insecurity. Young people are also mobilizing at their own level. I would like particularly to highlight the work carried out by the NGO Maharcha, where I serve as the head of research and innovation. Through our project, AFAFI, launched in 2023, we have observed promising results in inclusive water management. The project aims to train children and adolescents, starting from middle and high school, in developing innovative technologies to strengthen their communities' resilience to water insecurity and climate change. And if you would like to learn more about our initiatives or explore potential collaborations, please feel free to contact us through the following channels. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bakat. You are involved in this initiative as well?
Yes.
That's really nice. How many people are you, and or how many people maybe can you reach with your initiative?
In 2023, we reached around more than 200 young people in public establishments. But in 2024 and 2025, we reached around 300 young people in Madagascar. But also, we would like to extend our activities at international level. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you are a youth activist, not only expert for climate action and water and sustainability. So I hope you will grow your impact so much over time. Thank you for joining us. Is there any other question for Barak?
Very good and very nice presentation, and very good working from her side. Well done.
So next, last but not least, Lucky. I think it's Lucky, right?
Yeah, Erin is also there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So I was a bit too fast, Lucky. I think Erin is next. Is it okay for you that you make the last speech?
It's okay, but even I can make it short, like 5 minutes.
Please go ahead. Then is it okay for you, Erin?
That's fine. No problem.
Confusion. Sorry for that one. Thanks. So Lucky is joining from Somalia, is a founder and also an Obama leader. Grateful to have you here.
Thank you very much, and I hope everyone hears me. And hi, all of you, wherever you are, and if it is midday or morning, and hi, all of you. As Isabel say, I'm from Somaliland, not Somalia. So today, on World Water Day, we are called not not just to speak, but to act. Water is a life. Without it, there is no food, no health, no dignity. Yet billions around the world are denied this most basic right. I will start my presentation, and although I can't share, but water is why water matters. Water is essential for drinking, for growing food, and maintaining health. But today, millions of people around the world do not have access to safe water. And also, climate change is making this situation worse by creating droughts and reducing rainfall. When water becomes scarce, people begin to compete for it, and this competition can lead to conflict between communities. And women are the most affected people when that conflict happen. So in many parts of the world, especially in rural areas, women and girls are responsible for collecting water. They walk long distances per day and spend many hours carrying heavy containers. This affects their health and safety. Girls often miss school because they must help their families collect water. So when water is scarce, women and girls suffer the most. This increases gender inequality and limits opportunities for women. And it is also linked in water and peace. And so water can be either create conflict or support peace. So when there's not enough water, people compete. And this can cause tension and disputes. But when water is shared fairly, it can bring people together and build cooperation. However, for this to happen, everyone must be included, especially women. When women are included in decision-making, communities are more peaceful and solutions are stronger. So in global perspective, around the world, conflicts related to water are increasing, but women who deal with water every day are often excluded from decision-making processes. And this is a major gap, because when women are involved, projects are more successful and communities are more stable. Including women is not just fair, it's necessary for peace. So I will add in my country, Somaliland, and how water and you know, it caused disputes and how women are involved. So in Somaliland, water scarcity is a serious challenge, and the region has a dry climate with very little and unpredictable rainfall. Most people depend on rain, wells, and groundwater. Droughts happen frequently and are becoming more severe due to climate change. So when the rain fall, water sources dry up, livestock die, and our country depends on livestock. Our all economy and 90% we are dependent on livestock. So when droughts are happening, that livestock are die, and then you know, and the communities are become the communities are dependent on livestock, and then it affects all of them. So women in Somaliland and are responsible for collecting water for their families. They often walk very long distance, sometimes many kilometers, to find water. This journey can be dangerous and exhausting, and it takes time away from education, work, and rest. But even though women carry this heavy responsibility, they are often not included in decisions about water systems. This creates inequality and weakness solution. And water challenges in Somaliland are both natural and structural. Natural challenges include drought and climate change, and structural challenges include limited infrastructure and lack of investment in water systems. Many rural communities do not have reliable access to water. At the same time, the population is growing and demand for water is increasing. This creates pressure and inequality between communities. So, and when water becomes scarce, communities began to compete for resources. This can lead to disputes between groups, and our country's PACER and it's a PACER clan system. And every clan, they are based in their own rural areas or then in cities, and then no one can go, like the other clans and who areas. It causes disputes, but in that clan allows to go, it's okay. So this can lead to disputes between groups, especially of water and grazing land. In some cases, families are forced to move in search of water. This displacement creates instability. Women are the most affected people. They lose safety, support system, and access to basic services. So water scarcity can lead directly to conflict and insecurity. Also, that water scarcity is caused gender-based violence. So water scarcity increases the risk of gender-based violence. When women travel long distance to collect water, they may face harassment or violence. At water points, conditions may not be safe. In the home, stress caused by lack of water can increase domestic violence. During drought, some families may arrange early marriage for girls as a coping strategy. And also when they are going and somewhere far away from there where they are before, and they face and also GBV and so this shows that water problems can lead to serious social harm, especially for women and girls. So the way forward or solution is all of this challenge. We need to invest in water infrastructure so that communities have safe and nearby water sources. We must include women in leadership and decision-making processes. We need to ensure that water systems are safe and accessible for everyone, and we must integrate protection measures to prevent violence. When we address water and gender together, we can reduce conflict and build peace. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Isabel, who is the next? So we move forward.
Thank you, Lucky. This was very insightful. And do you know how many people in Somaliland are lacking maybe water, or is it? Do you know how many people are affected?
Okay, the most, our people are dependent on, as I say, livestock, and our rainfall is, is less, and we cannot predict, So at this time I'm talking to you, and the last 3 months, and our country faced a severe drought, and a lot of, livestock are dead. And all the communities, they gather and to donate water and give these people in need, because there is a lot of families that are in goes and far away from where they are before and where they are located. So all that causes and stress and trauma. But now, today and yesterday, and it's there is a rain, and everyone in Somaliland is happy. But our problem is whenever and we don't have any we don't have any plans to secure that rainfall. So when the rain comes, it and we don't have a plan, and after that, there is a drought coming. So we hope our government and our people to understand that and to have a good plan to solve this current problems.
Just maybe for everyone, if you have suggestions on how water can be easily, I don't know, saved or protected when there's rainfall, even if the government is not supporting, please share in the chat. And or if you hear something, right? I wish you all the best. You're doing great, Lucky. Also a young female leader who has a lot of potential, and I wish you all the best. next up is Aaron, if there's no other question, right? Abdul, I hand over to you, and yeah.
Yeah. Next is Aaron, and she has a very rich experience every time in the World Water Day. I learned many things from her. So women, land, and ownership, and water scarcity and peace nexus. So please, Aaron.
Thanks, Abdul. And thank you both for having me on again. It's such a wonderful opportunity to try and help people. So I wanted to start off, I'm going to look a little bit at the issues that directly impact water and society globally. But then I'm going to drill down because I think sometimes we lose the granularity, and it's actually in the granularity that we get the most information, because this happens to affect everybody in different ways. So these are some of the issues. If you look at environmental and climatic factors, in fact, these top 6 ones tend to be things that are managed by governments, that are social impacts. And the trouble is that when we deal with these things, we end up thinking that the agency is removed from us, that we cannot deal with the problems from pollution and water degradation, or from rapid population growth, or from a lack of waste management facilities. But actually, that's not the case. The other thing that we need to think about when we're analyzing these is that these do not appear in silos. Everything is interrelated, and that is something that's really critical for governments to think about, even though they tend to manage things in silos, such as agriculture being run by a Ministry of Agriculture, sanitation by health services, environmental and climatic factors by an environmental agency. But all these things will have a human and a social impact, and will affect women and education. So if you look at this map, which is the level of water stress of all sectors by major basin, you can see that there's this band that's pretty well, it's not actually on the equator, which is about here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's above that. And as you can see, countries that seem to have no stress actually are impacted by water stress regardless. I mean, I don't think many people here would say that the US is under a relatively high level of water stress, but if you look at it, in Mexico, some of the areas are actually critical, just like the Middle East. And I think this is a really important point, because as climate changes, we're going to be having impacts that are affecting everybody in different ways. So from that context, the context of the place that you're looking at is absolutely critical to get right, because it is going to be different. So we have a water scarcity that exists in 2 different forms. We can have a lack of physical water, which is what I'm talking about here, which is, the Middle East, the Sahel, South Asia, where we need to shade, capture, dig, and to try and sink the water into the landscape. What you see here, these little round holes, are actually an ancient technique of running water underneath the surface of the ground. And that's called a kanat. And that has been used for thousands of years. And it's a way to not expose water to the evaporation and the high temperatures that it normally would be exposed to. So areas that have water scarcity will have to use shading. They'll have to try and keep the evaporation low, and they should be trying to plant enough trees to try and produce rain. So normally at that point, you're looking at about 100,000 hectares. So it's a big ask, but it's happening in the Sahel, and I think that that's really, really interesting. One of the things with soils in areas that are prone to desertification is that they tend to have difficulty holding water. And so because of that, you have flash floods. So systems can be put in place to slow, spread, and sink the water. But then there's another type of scarcity that is mainly where we've been focusing, which is the economic water scarcity. So even though you might have water physically fairly close, you may not be able to access it. And this is where it tends to affect women more than men, usually due to a lack of land ownership or exclusion from water governance systems, which is a big problem in Australia, or cultural restrictions because the women are not the landowners. And as a result, we have to understand that water scarcity can be impacted by power, control, and inequality, which are relatively easy to think and I think to fix. So I think that that's a really positive thing. So there's a link between the land and water control because the land ownership determines your access to wells and your access to irrigation. So depending on the country, there are always different setups. India, for example, the women are allowed to farm and do a lot of the farming, but the men are controlling the irrigation system. So it sets up inequality that way because there's a difference in power structure. Water insecurity is usually not the sole cause of a war. It's usually something, it's an add-on. We call that a threat multiplier. And it will intensify a conflict, but there's usually another basis for whatever conflict is in existence. So we'll have competition over scarce resources, like the pastoralists who are trying to water their livestock and the farmers who need water for the crops. And the trouble is that because we no longer have Indigenous people who were managing the resource for thousands of years before, we have an extractive mindset instead of a cooperative mindset. We also have state fragility and governance failures, breakdown in trust that was mentioned before, a lot of issues with displacement and migration that just puts increasing pressure on urban areas, which tend to be the place that displaced people will move to. And then in another presentation, we were talking about the strategic weaponization of war. So it's used to weaken the other side, which is really a terrible, terrible thing. So why does gender matter? I want to get a little bit more into the granularity, as we said. And these power structures that we were talking about tend to largely be shaped by male-dominated society. And this impacts the economic and the political systems. But like I said, it's structural. So we have issues that are linking land, water, and gender in a structural silo that need to be broken. So the women who are walking for half an hour or longer per day have a higher risk of sexual violence and a higher risk of assault. I think the health impacts, which we were touching upon sort of here, there, and everywhere, it's a really, really interesting issue because the women actually have a higher repeated exposure to the contaminated water due to having to go and collect it and having to cook. So they have higher rates of disease. But on top of that, when there is a sick child or sick husband, they have the double burden of having to bear the caregiving responsibilities as well. So it's affecting them from more ways than just, for instance, the men who may not be able to go out and work. The women still have the obligations to make sure there's enough water within the household, and they will suffer from spinal injuries because the water is pretty heavy to carry. You get the loss of livelihoods, especially if you are looking at pastoral people, where you're going to have reduced agriculture productivity. And usually the women who are often the subsistence farmers are going to lose income and food security if that happens. There's a really interesting issue as well, and I find this fascinating. If women manage their land too well but don't own it, the husbands can sell the land out from under them. And what that means is that the women have an incentive not to maximize the productivity of their land. So it's kind of counterintuitive. They want to have enough land to be able to grow the food that will feed their families, but they don't want it to be so good that their husbands will take it away. And this is one of the reasons why land ownership issues are really a big deal. So we've already spoken about the time poverty and the education loss. I'll touch upon it again, but another issue, of course, is, as we've been saying, this exclusion from decision making, because if the women are not given a voice, then the men are going to assume certain things that may not actually be the case in reality. So I thought what I would do is to focus a little bit on Côte d'Ivoire, because I think Côte d'Ivoire is really interesting. See, it's right by the coast. It's this red outlined place. And water insecurity affects nearly 86% of the people in the country, which is, you know, fairly significant. So they are primarily responsible for supplying water to their families, and 68% of households lack access to water on their premises. So that means the women are having to go out, or the kids. So there's a high burden falling on women and girls who are traveling long distances and facing these health risks that we were talking about. Another issue is in rural regions, 65% of hand pumps can be broken. In part, that was due to the civil war that happened in 2011. And that means that women have to go further and may have to rely on unsafe, non-potable water sources. So what this is saying is that half the women in Côte d'Ivoire are facing a household water insecurity issue. As we said, again, this is restricting the education of women and girls. Girl enrollment in school is 33% compared to 45% for boys. And the context here is that 75% of the population is under 35 years old. So when you're talking about a 33% enrollment, that is actually significant for the future. So in the context of Côte d'Ivoire, you're looking at massive amounts of imported fertilizer. You're looking at 19% of the total population being undernourished. You're talking about the real GDP being about 1,736 US dollars, so it's low. And you have exports of cocoa and cotton, which mainly are driving this NPK and the urea usage, which is then destroying the land around it. So 46% of the population is employed in farming or in livestock rearing. And the agriculture is rain-fed, and it's subsistence farming, and it's limited in its capacity to adapt as climate is changing. So it's a high risk of hunger and poverty if the climate is very variable. So let's go back and then look at this again and see how does this impact Côte d'Ivoire, because I think this is where we can get into some really interesting things. Chances are environmental and climatic factors, sea levels will be rising, and what that's going to do is it's going to cause seawater incursions into the freshwater, which is going to compound the water insecurity. 90% of the forests have disappeared in the last 100 years. In 1960, there was 12 to 16 million hectares of forest, and now there's only 3. And the primary driver is cocoa production. And Côte d'Ivoire produces about 1/3 of the world's cocoa. So what they do is they farm for 5 to 10 years of good fertility. They get good yields, and then they make deals with illegal loggers of teak and other protected trees which are endangered. And then the loggers come in, they cut down the trees, and the cocoa farmers can start again planting their cocoa trees. So one of the things that's going to change this, I hope, is the new EUDR policy, which is the European Deforestation Regulation, which is something that I'm working intently on. And by strict international trade regulations, hopefully we can mitigate the damage that's impacting Côte d'Ivoire from these environmental and climatic factors. So in terms of the water pollution and water quality degradation, partially that was due to political unrest. Like I said, there was the civil war that happened, and sanitation became low on the government agenda. But 2 of the top 10 leading causes of death are malaria and diarrheal diseases. So it's something that has to be faced, and the government is trying. But because of point number 3, rapid population growth, what's happening is that the urban populations are becoming overwhelmed, and the systems are breaking down because they were managing just at the limit the way they were. And now with extra people that are coming in, they have become even more difficult to fix because the problems are bigger, and the infrastructure, as we can have a look, inadequate infrastructure and maintenance is making it impossible to keep up, because as people keep coming, the population, of course, has more sewage, has more need of water sanitation systems, and these systems are outdated and don't meet the needs of the population. So if we move on to the insufficient sanitation and waste management, 9 million people don't have access to bathrooms, showers, and places to purify water, which is pretty shocking. That's almost 1/3 of the population. E. coli is a huge problem, and it's, of course, found in water that then is used to make baby formulas. So the babies get sick and they die. But since 2010, infant mortality has fallen from about 11% to 8%. So it's getting a bit better. Agriculture is so interesting because there are actually 2 different types of agriculture. One is the agriculture that makes commodities, your corn, your grains, your cocoa, your cotton. Those commodities are extractive. What those commodities are doing is impoverishing the soils, because the idea is that big global companies come in and want to make the most money possible and extract the most from the little communities, and they don't actually care about the continuation of these food programs within the little communities. So if you're looking at small farms, those are the ones that are actually growing the food, and they are the people who are actually concerned with sustainability and making sure that they have land that can support growth going further. But what also happens here is when you add your NPKs and your urea, you actually degrade the biology within the soils that then helps you to grow food naturally, and you end up in a cycle where you're dependent on these super expensive inputs. That's particularly relevant in times like today, where there's a problem with oil and getting the fertilizers and the natural gas out through the Straits of Hormuz to the rest of the world. So right now, the urea and the NPK prices are just skyrocketing. And it means that everybody who was in a slightly precarious position before, who needed fertilizer to grow crops or to grow food, are feeling the effects much more than they should if they were using more agroecologically friendly things. So another issue that's coming here is going to be what happens with climate change, because yields are going to fall for some of their main production, like maize, millet, sorghum. It will be compensated somewhat, but this is really going to be a massive problem. So in terms of the human and social impact, the water crisis is affecting every single aspect of life in the Côte d'Ivoire. Health is severely impacted. Waterborne diseases are causing significant mortality and adult deaths. The burden of fetching water is on women and girls who are spending hours collecting water, and their labor affects their health and limits educational opportunities, as tired and sick kids struggle to attend school or perform well academically. So economically, water scarcity is threatening agriculture, industry, and overall development. And the lack of reliable water sources is hindering business operations, reducing agricultural productivity, which of course is vital for the country's economy. So you end up with social tensions in areas due to competition for limited water resources. And in terms of the effect of girls, we've kind of been through this before. The scarcity is increasing the health risks of children. They're missing school, and supporting women in managing water resources and improving access to clean water will improve not just health, but education and gender equality in affected communities. Oops. So here's a picture of cocoa trees. And what we're looking at here is the laws and the issues surrounding land ownership, which is one of the fundamental issues that arise in this. So when we have laws, it doesn't mean that necessarily the customs are going to respect those laws. And this is what we're seeing in the Côte d'Ivoire. So even though the laws have been in place for a few decades now, the custom prioritizes male ownership and land passes from father to son, and women are usually excluded. So it is helping that this has been institutionalized, because what the new government is doing is issuing something called land certificates to females. So if it's not a land certificate, then it's a land registration, which allows then women to claim the land ownership. The reason that this is so important is that when you own land, you can go to the bank and you can get a loan. And if you don't own land, you cannot. So it's a huge, huge deal to be able to be given one of these land certificates. And what has been happening is this PAMO4 project, which is actually really interesting if you're into this sort of thing. They have issued over 50,000 contracts, 22% which went to women. I wish it were more, and almost 100,000 in the land use certificates. So slowly but surely, we're getting somewhere. And there's some proud women who are getting their land certificates. So this is looking at really how improving water access will act as a foundation for stability. We talked about lowering competition. We talked about sharing rivers, leading to treaties rather than war, which is terrific because pollution doesn't stop at the boundaries. And we're talking about community water management, building collective governments, and that women, when they're included, decrease the risk of conflict, which is amazing. Research is consistently showing that women's participation leads to more sustainable and equitable outcomes. So what are some of the problems that we still face? We have inconsistency in data. We don't actually know who is controlling or land holding or owning. That is a place that research needs to find out. And like I mentioned before, the legal rights are not necessarily reflected in the customary and social norms. So these are nuances that need to be addressed when we are trying to study water. And the causality is multi-factor. We talked about infrastructure, climate, and governance all playing a role, as does this whole siloed notion that we can manage things independently. We can't, they're all related. There's also a lot of regional variation. Not all global south countries are equal. They'll have different laws. They'll have different structures of ownership for land, different access, whether it's a completely dry region or not. And the water scarcity metrics will vary. That's the physical versus economic scarcity. So in conclusion, gender inequality and land ownership directly intensify the water crises, but improving women's land rights improves water access, health, and resilience. So I have some other slides at the back you can flip through if you want, and and see how that goes.
Thank you very much, and really very impressive and very knowledgeable and another aspect of water and gender and land ownership. So nowadays, what I see a lot of wastewater, water recycling, what we are calling our desalination, the future of this planet, and even what I heard in this meeting that many of our infrastructure getting old, and even I read many magazines and many articles that somehow our wastewater treatment plants, like have pharmaceuticals or other, they may be not addressing all the pharmaceutical residue, and they need to be upgraded because it goes into our soil, into our oceans, and this can be very critical and very concern for human being, especially as our there is I have seen many people raising the voices for PFAS and microplastics and maybe the pharmaceutical residue as well in the future. So really very nice speech, and learned many things, and hope, Isabel, this presentation of Aaron is available for our audience and on our LinkedIn page. A lot of things to learn, especially for the people who are very conscious to climate and food, and this time the land and women partnership and women participation in this water and peace effort. So over to Isabel, please. If anyone
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone here. And if you want to say something, please go ahead. I learned so much. That was really insightful also, Aaron. Thank you. Having this connection now with the land ownership, I read about it also in regards to agriculture and inequalities and climate change, but I couldn't really connect it. Now I understand so much better. And thank you also for the maps and overview, but also all other speakers. I'm so grateful to be able to share this moment today with you. Thanks to Abdul, who initiated it, who is the water expert. And yeah, Abdul, we will share the presentations and the videos on the channels, and please reshare, please use it to communicate to others if you like to share those solutions. And I'm grateful for this round and wishing everyone peace and water access and equality. And I have this wonderful book, maybe that's the last one from my side. I have this wonderful book here in front of me, which is called Frauen leben Frieden, Women Living Peace. And it's from all the Nobel Prize winners of all the women, which is an amazing one.
Yes.
So sending you the best, and thank you for joining us. Abdul.
Thank you very much, Isabel. And you have election day today in Germany, and you traveled a lot and for your election vote forecast for democracy. And really appreciate to all the participants, and especially you. And always, but we have a slogan. I will repeat again. We are one. One planet, one Earth, and we all are one on this planet. So
we are one planet Earth.
Yeah.
Yes, I do it. One planet Earth, one human family with one common future.
Yes. Really. And thank you to all of you. And if anyone has any questions and anything to post on LinkedIn, and I follow it, and I always admire and see the posts, especially on the. I see how the people struggle and strive, and who get the Nobel Prize for the humanity, for science, for engineering, for anything. They have the contribution to the people, and I appreciate. And this is the property of common people. They benefit, even after the human who have like I always admire Einstein, Newton. The scientists, everybody hold them, everybody on them, this is the marathon, and this is the upcoming human after us will have a lot of things what we will leave legacy behind, and this is for the water for peace and planet. So thank you all of you, and Isabel, your concluding remarks, and then let's go. Yeah, that's good. Anyone want to say anything? Our LinkedIn page is there. It's always even the food for peace, the water for peace, and I really again grateful, and see you again in September. We have other event, and I will invite all of you and many more people. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. See you latest next year, but World Peace Day, we normally also have an event.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye
Sky.
bye.
Bye.
Hey, bye bye.
Bye.
At the door.
Bye bye.